listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There are so many topics, especially in the major league game right now, that we can talk about, whether it's the new age analytics, whether it's the grips of the pitchers, the bat speed, new metrics. There's so many different things that you can really talk about. So it's fun. You get to bring these players in, hear what they like to go into, and just continue to dig deeper into that story.
All right, bat speed. I don't know where you measured on this. I don't know. But what's when you see something like this coming out and everyone's freaking out, isn't this great bat speed? And then you see, wait a second, the best hitter in baseball has the worst bat speed. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess it kind of relates back to putting a value on that veteran leader, right? I mean, there's stuff in hitting that you just can't quantify. There's approach, there's pitch-to-pitch adjustments, there's plans, there's all different things that make hitters hitters. And, I think one of the things I saw today is another thing about the bat speed, and it's someone talking about how, wow, it's amazing. When these professional hitters get 2 strikes, the average bat speed goes down 2 miles an hour. And it's like, yeah, no shit. This is called a 2-strike approach. You know what I mean? You have to, obviously you can't anticipate a pitch. You have to see it a little longer. You have to see it a little deeper, and you're not going to swing as hard because that's the situation you're in. So when you see a guy like Luis Arraez, who doesn't have the bat speed, but a guy's on first and he knows he wants to pull the ball because there's a big hole over there, certain things you just can't quantify. That's his approach. When you see a guy like Luis Arraez who has an at-bat off a guy, he gets a hit off of a slider that was nasty down and away, and the next time up, he comes and gets another hit on a first pitch fastball. He then knows this is what I'm going to see because I just hit his slider in a perfect spot, so he feels he can't get away with it. It's just stuff like that the player is sitting back, looking at this stuff, reading this stuff like, wait, there's so much more to this. But I truly believe now that the fans look at this stuff and they're like, wow, this is the whole story. This is what it is. And honestly, I think that's why, like yourself, I have a big passion of being like, wait, there's way more to this, and gives us the opportunity to dive into this and explain more on it.
All right, there you go. Eric Hosmer on the Baseballs and Boring podcast earlier this week. A lot of good stuff from Eric Hosmer. But there was something in the podcast, something in the conversation, which I wanted to dig in more. And it was the perfect opportunity to use that to have another Wasabi hot cloud storage hot take. It's that time of week again. Every single week we're doing this, usually dropping on Thursdays. So it gives me the opportunity to sort of take a deep dive to talk about a specific subject that maybe it came up in a podcast. Maybe it just has been grinding my gears. Maybe it's just something that I saw in passing. I don't know. But what Hosmer was talking about, what we talked about, was the new analytic that has come out recently, and that obviously is measuring bat speed, miles per hour and bat speed. And one of the things, as we noted in that conversation, one of the things that everyone jumped to immediately was Luis Arraez being the worst of the worst when it came to bat speed. And Luis Arraez is perceived as one of the best hitters in all of baseball. So I think a lot of people said, oh my goodness, another fraudulent stat. Look at these guys chasing bat speed when they shouldn't be chasing just bat speed. Can't we just appreciate the great art of hitting? Yes, Luis Arraez is a perfect example of this. But as Eric Hosmer points out, the story isn't always just black and white, this or that. You take that stat and that's the best player. You take that stat and this is the best player. You can't always do that. So I wanted to take a little bit closer look, and I also didn't want to be sort of old man yelling at clouds here about new stat, can't like, is fraudulent. No, but I also wanted to take a very fair look at exactly how important or how has been translating into the most important things, which is productions, particularly runs. Listen, best stat, we said maybe games played. Runs aren't that far behind, at least in terms of offensive metrics. All right, let's get into it a little bit. So let's start with the players with your best OPS right now in baseball. I'm going to rattle them off. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Marcell Ozuna, Kyle Tucker, Mookie Betts, Gunnar Henderson, Salvador Perez, Brent Rooker, Rafael Devers, Jurickson Profar, Bobby Witt Jr., William Contreras. All right. Now, I'm going to give you the best bat speed as measured. Go to Baseball Savant, leaderboards, miles per hour bat speed. All right, here you go. Giancarlo Stanton, O'Neal Cruz, Kyle Schwarber, Joe Adell, Acuna Jr., Judge, Matt Chapman, Morel, Soto, Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Soler, Gunnar Henderson, Vlad Guerrero, Yordan Alvarez, Jesus Sanchez, and somebody named Shohei Ohtani. Now, I'm not expecting you to write all that down, but let me give you a little what's what when it comes to bat speed. Now, I'm going to start here when it comes to the bat speed. This is the be wary of what you wish for when it comes to the bat speed conversation. The guys of that group, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 15, top 15. Only three of them have OPSs of better than 800. Only three. You look at Stanton, I'm going to go through down the list for best bat speed. Stanton, 761 OPS. O'Neal Cruz, 726 OPS. Schwarber, 794 OPS. Joe Adell, 739 OPS. Acuna Jr., 716 OPS. Chapman, 722 OPS. Morel, 671 OPS. Julio Rodriguez, 655 OPS. Soler, 640 OPS. Yordan Alvarez, 798 OPS. And Jesus Sanchez, 594 OPS. All right. So we start there, where you have the guys with the best bat speed, and that's supposed to translate into the most damage, but that's not necessarily the case. I just pointed this out to you. The guys on the top list, the top bat speed list, who actually have high OPSs, Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Shohei Ohtani. Now, you look at where they are in terms of contact percentage. If you want to look at the best hitters and where the best hitters are, I'm going to jump right to it. Sure, you can have bat speed. Sure, you can have contact. Spoiler alert, it's both. And the best guy when it comes to both, right now, the best guys is Juan Soto, who is, 8th in bat speed and 6th best in contact rate. Another good guy, William Contreras, the Brewers. He's up there in bat speed and 7th in contact rate. So you also have these guys who have the sweet spot, both figuratively and literally, bat speed and contact rate. That's what we're looking for. Ohtani, another great example. All right, he's obviously high in bat speed. He is 26th best in the majors in contact rate, which is very, very good. Gunnar Henderson, Aaron Judge, obviously very high in bat speed. Both very high in contact rate. Both exactly at 36.6%, 54th, which is well above average. So, the best hitters in baseball right now, I'm going to jump right to it. It's Juan Soto, it's Gunnar Henderson, it's Aaron Judge. You look at those guys, and those guys, if you want to see sustainability, they have the bat speed and they have the contact rate. They have those two things. And sure enough, an OPS, Judge number 1, Ohtani number 2, Gunnar Henderson number 6. So it's not that complicated. Get those two things, and you'll have the hitter that you want the most. Now, so where does this leave with the Luis Arraez conversation? Contact rate. This is a dangerous one. This is how I feel when it comes to actually prioritizing the guy. If you want to go out and prioritizing the guy who has a good contact rate, I think it's more of, and I think Arraez is sort of an outlier. I think with contact rate, it's more of you need those guys, but you can't expect them to drive the bus. So you look at the top guys in contact rate right now. Arraez, Blake Perkins is number 2. He's hitting .232 with a 679 OPS. Then you have Nicky Lopez. He's number 3, .237 batting average, 571 OPS. Obviously not guys who are going to absolutely be middle of the order, no question about it, or not even middle of the order, but guys that you're going to build around. But Arraez, once again, he's much like Judge, much like Gunnar Henderson, much like Ohtani, they are just different. Another example of how you can't measure everything. You can't just look at these numbers like we're doing our best to paint this picture, sure. But we still can't say, oh, he has a great bat speed rate and he has a great chase percentage. And there you go. You're going to have the results. I'm going to give you an example of this. Javi Baez, right now, best bat speed on the Tigers, highest contact rate on the Tigers over the last couple of weeks, 707 OPS. This is over the last couple of weeks. Meanwhile, the guy who was tearing it up, the two guys who were tearing it up, in the last 2 weeks, Matt Verling and Colt Keith for the Tigers, league average in both. League average in both. So that's what's interesting, is that you can't just say, yes, outstanding bat speed, yes, outstanding contact rate, and that's going to automatically jump you to the head of the line. All right, so I want to keep going here. If we want to use this and we want to find something predictive about the bat speed and the contact rate, then I'll come back to it. You have to find the guy, I think, who has at least solid numbers in both if you want to sort of move forward. Now, I'm not saying, like, for instance, Rafael Devers has, good bat, above average bat speed and below average contact rate. Yet, you would take Rafael Devers. So, fine. But if I was looking at the last 2 weeks here, and a guy that was really interesting to me was Eloy Jimenez. Eloy Jimenez, he's first in contact rate of all players in the last 2 weeks. He's 30th in bat speed, 74.7 miles per hour, which is really, really good. And it actually is translated in these last 2 weeks. 321 batting average, 887 OPS. If you want to look for a guy who actually might be onto something heading into the trade deadline, for instance, for the Chicago White Sox, there you go. That's a guy. Or how about a guy who in the last 2 weeks is trending in the right direction? Obviously, you might know the guy known as Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson in the last 2 weeks, he has the 11th best OPS in all of baseball. Well, it's no coincidence because he's 9th in contact rate during that period, and he's 11th in terms of bat speed. So I'll come back to it. For me right now, the most impactful hitters in all of baseball, going by this formula, the highest bat speed, the highest contact rate, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Gunnar Henderson, Shohei Ohtani. Those four right there. And if you just said who are the best hitters in baseball without doing all this research, without spending the time to take the deep dive, you probably come up with those names anyway. So, but it's always nice to get some affirmation, some proof, some science. And the last thing I want to leave you with is how teams are approaching this. So is there a direct correlation to bat speed, teams with the best bat speed, teams with the best contact rate, and teams who score the most runs? It comes back to the exact thing that I said before. It's both. It's all of it. Phillies have scored the most runs. They're 13th in bat speed, which is obviously above average, and 9th in contact rate. Okay? The Brewers, another very, very balanced team. Maybe the most balanced team when it comes to this. Maybe if you want to look at the best offense, the most feared offense, going by this formula, maybe it's the Brewers. They have the 4th most runs, and they're fourth in bat speed and first in contact rate. The Yankees, not far behind. They have the seventh most runs. They're 10th in bat speed and third in contact rate. So, how about if you have the all or nothing one way or the other teams? Well, it usually doesn't work out. The White Sox are a perfect example of that. They are second in contact rate, and they are dead last in runs scored. Dead last in runs scored. They are also second to last in bat speed. So White Sox, once again, fewest runs, second best contact rate, second worst bat speed. Yet, conversely, before you jump to say, oh, you need the teams with the best bat speed, no. The Pirates, they're the all or nothing bat speed team. They're second in bat speed in all of baseball. Yet they're 25th in contact, and they only have the 22nd most runs. I find this stuff fascinating. I find it interesting. I think that what we can use from all these numbers, to come back to Eric Hosmer's proclamation, to what he said on the podcast, it's just not a black and white thing. You just have to take all of it into consideration. You have to take the deep dive. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done because you know why? Because with the guys that I mentioned who have this balance of bat speed and contact rate, the Judge, the Soto, the Henderson, the Ohtani, yeah, we all know they're really good. But how can you find the next wave of that, guys? I just gave you one. Eloy Jimenez, last couple of weeks, he's trending to be that guy. So who knows? But I hope that I was able to, bring some clarity. I don't think I bring out any clarity, but maybe some information to this conversation, a conversation that I find really interesting, as was evident on the Eric Hosmer podcast. And we'll continue it. We'll keep looking at this. And thank you, baseball. Thank you, Baseball Savant. Thank you, StatCast, for giving us this stuff. Because this is what it's all about. It's about the conversation. It's about the debate. And it's not about just it's this way or the highway or that way or the highway. No, it's not about that. And I think what this showed was exactly that. So, in synopsis, bat speed, not a bad thing, but not everything. All right, at BB Isn't Boring, rate, review, subscribe. This has been another Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage Hot Take.